everybody. Welcome to the show. Hope everyone's doing well out there. I am here with Mr. Bullet. We are chilling on the couch, ready for this exciting interview. I don't know why I seem like I'm out of breath, because I have not moved in a minute here. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this show. We'll just get into this episode here. Hope all is well with you guys. Let's do this, shall we? Alright guys, we are back here again. I feel like it's been a minute since I've done one of these because I've been doing so many other things, and because I get so many done ahead, I don't ever really, I don't do them as often as you may think. But yeah, I found this great guy off a pod match. We connected and matched and just kind of set something up, and you know, a couple days later, here we are. Really just enjoy talking to him. He seems like one of the people that I would enjoy being friends with and just getting to know. So yeah, buddy, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and obviously your name and whatnot?
Yeah, for sure, TJ. My name is Nico Morales from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Me and TJ got connected through one of the platforms that allows hosts like him to bring guests like me on the line. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about some reasons why community is crucial, how to find connections in a disconnected world, and for me, overcoming addiction, because that is one of the things that I am a pro in.
Yeah, no, I always like to look at the parallels in all this thing, because you know, just like how you were talking off the air about words and all that, because it's like we are different. I mean, two different ethnic backgrounds, and you know, I've never had a drug in my life, but there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of other addictions. There's a lot of other things that can just take you down other paths, and you know, I think we try so hard nowadays, maybe throughout history as well, obviously, but just how to try to figure out what are the differences in each other, but we never look for as much as in the similarities. Excuse me. And you know, addiction is one of those things. It's like all the things we were just talking about and more, where addiction is around us all the time. People are struggling every day, and sometimes I think, especially when it comes to like the homeless population, we just go like, oh well, they're just all crazy bums. But we don't, and the reason why I can look at the parallels and the similarities in this is because as a person with a disability, people with addiction issues, people who are homeless, we are the people that are like a huge reminder of how fucked up life can get, and get fucked up real quick in one way or another. And people look at us differently. They look at us like, oh, that can't happen to us, and we should, almost like we're the plague. Like, oh my God, what? He's on heroin? Oh my God, how did he start sticking needles in his arm? It must have been that gateway drug, marijuana, and all this other horse shit that they go down. And it's like, man, it can, this stuff happens so quick. And that's why I never judge anybody for anything. You know, I mean, if you're a bad person, then okay, I just don't have you in my life. But, you know, but yeah, you know what I mean.
There's certain traits that you can pick up on that someone is morally misguided, right? Because there is what I like to call evil out in the world. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those type of individuals you got to be on the watch out for. But for the majority of human beings, they're just misguided, not morally corrupt, not evil. And so that misguided thing, they found a solution, and that solution might be something that you just don't agree with. For me, my solution was drugs and alcohol. That's how I felt included, because I was misguided as to what connections really were, what community really was. And I found myself hanging around with people who were at least honest about, who they were. When I deal with addicts, when I deal with people who are strung out, even now, I tend to see more genuine conversations, have more genuine conversations with them than with the individuals who are putting on a facade, whether that be in the corporate trainings that I do or the religious trainings that I do, like spiritual trainings. Like, there's some people who just put on these masks, and for me, seeing those masks are automatically a red flag, rather than seeing somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm messed up. I know I'm messed up, and this is how I choose to stay messed up. I appreciate that a whole lot more than the people who are like, no, I'm not messed up. I'm doing great. I'm doing well.
Right.
I'm awesome. That No, you're not. No one's awesome, quite honestly. Not in today's world.
Well, it's easier to relate to that. Like that's, I mean, like we were talking also earlier, just about the sugar coating of everything and the censorship. But like people who have gone through some of the harsh things that you and I have gone through in life, we don't want to hear that shit. We don't want to hear the acronyms. We don't want to hear the words, these little cutesy things that makes it easier for you to tolerate. We're the victims in this. We're the ones that went through it. Maybe we did it to ourselves. Maybe life did it to us, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're the ones that are, dealing with it internally and physically and emotionally. So it's like you don't need to sugarcoat it for us. But a lot of times it's for them. And it's like, no, man, just let us grieve, let us deal with our pain. And like I said, when I hear someone who, like let's say in the disability realm, where someone who just like, hey, this is my life, this shit is hard, but they're not sugarcoating anything about it. It makes me, but I also, I don't want anybody to be overly negative either, because that's not going to help anybody. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that just drives a wedge in between people.
yeah,
You're overly negative. That causes more issues there.
yeah,
But there's a balance, right? One of the things that I try to do is, if I'm going to spend 3 minutes talking about the shitty situation that's happening in my life, then I got to spend at least 6 minutes talking about solutions to that shitty situation, right? I can't be spending all of my time focused on the negative things. Most of my time needs to be focused on the solutions that are available. Because without finding those solutions that are available, then why are we talking about it? If that makes any type of sense.
yeah. And you got to paint a picture. Like you got to start from somewhere. You're like, this is where I was, and this is how bad it got. This is my rock bottom, But look, you can make it through it. But if you just kind of brush past that and go, nah, I mean, yeah, I just exercise and I prayed, and all of a sudden it was gone. It's like, even if that was true, most people who have dealt with addiction can't relate to that. Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
a smidge of that they can. They go, oh, yeah, I pray too, and I exercise and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
the idea of their demons just going away because they prayed them away is not realistic.
Oh, absolutely. Because my personal belief is that we have demons assigned to us, and so they know how to get under our skin. And since they know how to get under our skin, well, guess what? That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to get under our skin. So you have to fight them every day. It's not like it just goes away. And that's what I think cracks me up. Oh, well, you stopped using heroin. For instance, majority of my family isolated away from me when I started using drugs. But as soon as I stopped using drugs, all of a sudden they all want to be back in my life. And we're so proud of you. We're so happy for you. We're so good. And for me, that was more frustrating than anything else. It's because, well, now you want to be a part of my life because it's easier for you, rather than being a part of my life when it was best for me.
Right. Yeah.
And that type of situation is difficult. And, that's family. Talk about community who doesn't have any type of emotional connection to you. And the exact same situation happened. Oh, we're okay with being around the people who look good, who want to feel good, who want to put on this idea that they're doing well. But the ones who don't, we don't want to spend any time with. Well, the ones who don't are the ones who actually need the most help. The ones who don't are the ones who actually need that community the most, because it's so much more valuable. The ones who do have, quote unquote, their shit together are the ones that don't need as much support. But yet everybody wants to give them support because it's so much easier for the person giving support.
Yeah. And you also understand who are the right people to have in your life when you're going through that shit storm, and everyone is kind of pushing back and going, I can't. It's like they're embarrassed to be around you, and it's not worth their time, and they don't want to be seen, standing next to you and supporting you. And it's like, no, this is when I need you the most. And if you're not there, when I do get strong again and I get through this, I'm going to realize who are the ones that really stood by me, and the ones who should be in my life. And maybe if, let's say it was a mom and dad, maybe we'll always have love for each other and someone always will care for. But I also know I have to keep you at a distance, because I know you only like me when I'm like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People show their true colors. And by showing their true colors, you have to take them for that. You can't mistake them for anything other than the true colors that they showed you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I've been there. There's been times I've felt even my own family at times, not by the people I love the most, but there's some where I felt like, man, if I wasn't so and so's son or so and so's grandson, they probably wouldn't even acknowledge me. Just because it's like I can see their tolerance for race or for other things, or I've seen them say, retard or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, you understand I'm technically in that category, though I don't have that disability. You understand by you throwing that word around, that you're not that far from just shitting on me too, right? And
Yeah.
or they'll say, certain, and again, like I told you before, I'm not a word person, but I can see how they throw around certain words that are in the vein of blind and whatnot. I'm like, I can tell you're very insensitive towards people. Like, though I'm not a word person, I do realize that there are words that some people really don't like to hear, and they are offensive to those groups of people because because the history behind those words. Let's say, I have people on with dwarfism, and obviously midget is a word that people don't like because it has a tone to it that's offensive to them. So it's like, it's not a word I use. It's just, have I used it? Well, I just did a second ago, but I'm using it in the context. But, and it's just, I don't know. It's just having an understanding and care for everybody. And when I see someone struggling, I don't just look at them and go, oh, God, oh, what a waste, or, whatever. No, I try to help. Now, not everyone's worth helping because some people this is what they like. This is where they want to be. There are people that you can't save, and you just have
Absolutely.
to realize that. And that hurts the most a lot of times, because especially when you see them and you're like, man, I don't want to see you become an addict, or I don't want to see you become homeless or whatever. But you did your effort, you tried, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, because it's choices. Another thing I'd say to that is, some people are ignorant, and so we can't throw everything up to being malicious. But when you
Sure.
ask them to not use it around you, they're willing to receive that. We're using midget as our example here. So, hey, I prefer if you didn't use midget around me. If they are a decent human being, they're gonna be like, all right, cool. They're not gonna be offended by it, right? They're gonna make that effort to make that change.
Yeah.
The real shitheads are the ones that are like, no, fuck you. I'm gonna keep on saying midget, and then intentionally do it more and more.
Yeah.
So there's a malicious side of it, and there's an ignorant side of it, and I think most of the world is just ignorant,
Yeah.
mainly because they haven't had experiences, which is why we need community. Like, you need community in order to have different experiences, because the experiences that you have, TJ, I don't have, right? The experiences that I have, you said earlier, you never touched a drug in a day in your life. So because of community, we're able to express our experiences and these perspectives that come from the experiences. And that's why it's so important that people don't write off other things.
Yeah, and that's why, I mean, there's a lot of things that are cultural, and again, I'm a white boy, and I grew up in a very white town, and then I moved to Philadelphia once I got sick, and my sister, she's half Puerto Rican, so I grew up around a Spanish culture, and they're still family to me. We're not blood related, but that doesn't mean shit to me. I mean, there's a lot of people I love in this world as much as I love anyone else that's not blood related. And when I grew up, I had black friends, I had Asian friends, I had gay friends. It just was what it was. It was very beneficial to me and to understand them, and that we had our own little small, minor, little tiny community. But when you see, like I said, even the town that I'm from, that I actually moved back to for a job, there's a lot of closed-minded people and a lot of groups. And this isn't just white people, but there's a lot of people that they only hang out with people who look like them. And then their depiction or their thoughts on other communities, regardless of who they are, gay, straight, black, white, women, whatever, their opinions are usually based on other people's opinions of them. And it's like, no, like, or what they see on the internet, of course. And it's like, nah, man, there's shitty people. Like, I'm a disability advocate and a mental health advocate. There's a lot of shitty people with disabilities. I'm not going to sit here and act like they're all great. They're not. They're absolutely not. There's a lot of them that do want a handout. They do want people to just do everything for them. And it's like, no, I don't accept that. And just like, people, there's a lot of people that have created laws and rules that, don't really necessarily benefit me, but that doesn't mean all people who are what they call able-bodied people are bad people either, because I know a bunch of them that aren't.
Absolutely.
So it's just, getting yourself ingrained with other communities and learning about other cultures, and just forcing yourself to learn other things, whether it's uncomfortable or not. I don't know. I just, like, even as a straight male, I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. And if somebody's like, "Oh, hey man, you got your arm around your guy friend, you must be gay," I'm like, dude, whatever. I don't care. Like, whatever. If that's what you think and that makes you happy, good for you. But I'm just a very loving, affectionate person, and it is what it is. Doesn't mean I'm sleeping with the guy, but if you think so, cool. So I don't know. For me, it's just always about trying to be grateful for this journey that I'm on, because, I'm sure yours probably almost ended, mine almost ended, and even if it didn't, it got close, and it's like, I'm just happy that I'm still here, that I can even talk and think, and, I'm legally blind. I can still see some. I'm happy that I have that, and my vision sucks.
And I think that portion is crucial, because having a attitude of gratitude, as they like to say, is what's the most important. The big difference between a lot of individuals that I see is that there's some people who are grateful for their experiences. Like, I'm grateful for the heroin addiction. I'm grateful for the alcoholism. I ended up having to have both my hips replaced because of it. And I'm grateful for that experience too. There was a time where I couldn't walk. Wow. I'm grateful for those experiences because I understand the value of the life that I have. I understand the value of the health that I have. I understand the value of the ability to move that I have. And that gratitude of understanding that the cards that you are dealt are yours to play to the best that you can is that gratitude idea that I'm grateful I even get to still play on the table when there's other people who don't. Many individuals that I've been around aren't here today. And their families are struggling, their families are hurting because of that choice that they made. And that's one thing I think is a difference maker between a lot of individuals. And TJ, you touched on it just now. It's a choice to look through the lens. Like, there's two different lenses that we all get to look through each and every day. One is a lens of gratitude and gratefulness and thankfulness and joy. The other one is one of shame, guilt, frustration, fear. Yep. Which one are you going to want to look through? And for me, I choose to look through the one that says faith over it, that says joy over it, that says gratitude and thankfulness and encouraging and courage. So it's the lens that I choose to look through, because then I get to see individuals through that lens rather than seeing individuals through the other lens that isn't helpful at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've looked through the other lens too. In order to see where you are now and like the lens that you're looking through now, you had to see through the other one, because I know damn well I did. I was on a suicidal warpath. I hated myself. Every time I looked at my eyes or looked at my body, my face, whatever, I thought I was ugly, and I tore myself apart to where I almost ended my life. So, but I'm grateful that I went through that, because it made me appreciate life even more than I already do, more than I did at that point.
Absolutely. Like you said, you won't know what the lens of joy is without knowing the lens of pain. You won't know the lens of happiness without knowing the lens of anger and fear. So absolutely. And to each their own, but without those experiences, can you really say that you're living life? Like, without knowing what it's like to want to tear yourself apart, you won't really know what it's like to truly love yourself. And that's the difference. So when I meet people who are stuck in that lens of fear and frustration and that lens of ego, for me, it is a identifier that they have not experienced the other side of it. Therefore, they cannot see from that lens. Therefore, that's all they will see is that worry, shame, and guilt. And that's a mindset that they choose to have, because we live in a day and age where information is now available to us for ways to change the way that you think.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so much information that's readily available, and it's kind of trying to decipher which is the proper information to take in. And then we also have this problem where, I said this on another podcast about, you you can't possibly understand what winning in life is like unless you've lost a lot. And we live in this world now where everybody wants to just give out a trophy to everybody and everybody's great. And it's like, it's not how it is, man. I mean, you could try to do that on the surface, but deep in the dark crevices of life, that's not how it's going to go. We are all going to succumb to some sort of pain and trauma. And again, if you want to, because there are people right now that have everything or have a lot of, what life can give you and bring, and because they just were born into whatever privilege or whatever, and they don't see it as winning because they haven't lost. They're like, well, this is cool. Like, yeah, it's great I have money. It's great I have, a family and, and wealth and all that. And it's like, yeah, you're good. No. And it's like, because you haven't lost anything. I've lost so much and then lost it again. And, and I'm grateful for that, because I don't look at life like it's just this game anymore. I don't play around with it. I actually, I try to laugh. I try to enjoy myself, and I try to just take every day for what it is and just be like, man, I'm here, and I'm going to try to use my voice and what I can to, as long as this ride is continuing to move, I'm going to keep doing what I got to do and hopefully help some people and leave a legacy behind that can maybe make some differences for other people, especially with disabilities and whatnot, and inspire. But other than that, I'm good. I'm just trying to do my best. But I've lost so much along the way, and but I'm also not looking back at it and going like, oh man, look what I lost. It's just life.
Yeah. For those that aren't really spiritual, there's universal laws, right? And one of those universal laws is the law of polarity, and we see it in the weather, right? Like we have snowstorms and then you have sunshine. Well, without losing, then you don't know what winning feels like.
Yeah.
So it's a law of polarity that we must experience. And when you choose not to face that experience, because even the affluent individuals that have all kinds of money, they have different problems to solve. Some of the worst addicts are the ones who are addicted to money, because in today's society, that tool gives you way more resources, because that's all money is a tool.
Right.
And because they have more resources, they think they can get out of more issues, which they can, until they have to deal with the internal issues. And those internal issues are ones that they cannot purchase solutions for. And when they do, i.e. like coaching, therapy, the amount spent to purchase the solution doesn't impact them enough that they pay attention. One of my favorite lessons that I learned is the way to get someone's attention is you either hurt or help their feelings, or you either hurt or help their finances. Today's society, those are the two ways to get somebody's attention: emotions and finances. So if I can help somebody make money, guess what? I got their attention. If I can help somebody, or if I take some money from somebody, large amounts, then that gets their attention too. Same thing with emotions. If I hurt their emotions, then guess what? They're paying attention to me because I hurt their feelings. And if I help their feelings and make them feel better, then they're paying attention to me because I helped them do that, which is why we need these type of communities. I have a young man that I've been mentoring for close to 10 years now, and he has disabilities. Earlier we used the term retard, right? And he falls within that category. Now, we don't use that term amongst us, but we talk about it as a person of disabilities. But he has a viewpoint on the world that is so much more different. And don't get me wrong, he has his own issues, but to him, money isn't a problem, right? Because he lives on benefits that our community provides. And whatever the community doesn't provide, his mom helps him out with. But whatever we can help him out with, we do. Sure. So money is not an issue for him, but he still has these connection issues. He still has these wants, these needs that aren't always met. And because they're not always met, it causes him some frustration. And so, it goes both ways. And that's why having connections with human beings and being open to connecting to others in this world that wants to play off of keyboards and play off of streams and play off of even podcasts, right? I find myself sometimes so disconnected from the world, and all of my stuff is on the internet, that when I do engage with people, it's refreshing. right? So now I force myself to go into settings where I have to engage with people, um, whether that's going to the barber shop, whether that's going to the grocery store, whether that's going to a place of worship, whether that's going to a shopping mall and just sitting and enjoying people, because we've lost that type of connection. It's how our
Yeah.
world is so messed up.
Yeah, now we are disconnecting more and more, and COVID didn't help that, and just everything is just becoming online. I mean, hell, at some point my barber died, and I'm like, I'll just start cutting my own hair. And I'm like, that's just one less thing I'm going to do now when I go out. And it's like, because, and I'm sure you go through this at times where you have I mean, for me, I have a love-hate relationship with people. I've always been a huge animal person, and I've dealt with a lot of abuse with people. And when I have a great interaction with one, it's like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Why can't this be like this all the time? I can tell you're just a good person. You're open-minded. Your energy, your aura, everything about you is great. And then the rest of the people you bump into is they're just cranky and annoyed. And you're like, man, like, because I have this thing with my grandma where I'm constantly, she's about to be 92. She's very active and grateful for her still being around. I'm constantly trying to teach her manners because she has this thing where she's just like, I'm 92. I'll do what I want. I don't care. I'll, almost run over a guy with a walker. It's like, Grandma, no, you got to be respectful, please. But at the same time, as I'm teaching her to be respectful and show manners, I look around at, like, let's say the grocery store, and I'm like, well, be like that. Oh, nope, can't be like that person. No, how about that? And because she could just throw back at me like, well, why am I going to do it? No one else is. And even though that's not a great point, but it's like, I understand how she gets to that because it's valid in a way, because it's like, yeah, no one else is. And she, I mean, again, her generation failed my mom's generation failed my generation, blah, 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 blah. And my generation's failing the new one and so on. But it's just like, man, like, just being pleasant to people. Like, I don't give a shit what tiny little job you have. You're at the deli counter at the grocery store. I'm going to treat you just like I'm going to treat some guy who pulled up in a Porsche. I don't care about your financial status. I don't care about your color. I don't care about any of that shit. It means nothing, because there's good and bad people in every one of those communities. It means nothing. It just does. It's just, but yeah, we've gotten to a place where we want to be segregated from each other. And we don't want to interact enough. And it's like, no, I really do. I just don't want to keep having these bad interactions where it's like, I'm going to buy a breakfast sandwich at a restaurant and you're bitchy at me. And it's like, it's your job to interact with me. Like, I'm not telling you to kiss my ass because I'm not one of those people. Just be nice. Just be pleasant. And if you're not happy, then maybe you should do some real adjustments in your life. But I don't know. Yeah.
Well, common decency, man, is what I'm hearing you say, TJ, is that it's common decency isn't there. Because the common decency isn't there, and we have the internet that allows people to get away with it, right? Because I was born in the 90s, grew up early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Even in early 2000s, you said something incorrect around me, I was going to check you. And we had to have that confrontation right then and there, right?
Right.
This is like early 2000s, late 90s. Like, as a child, that's what I grew up knowing how to do.
Yeah.
If somebody disrespected me and I knew how to approach that disrespect, then we were going to have that confrontation. Didn't have to have a negative outcome, but we were going to have that confrontation. In today's society, people can be as negative, rude, petty, grumpy as they want online, and there's no repercussions. And so because they don't see the repercussions online, then they think that translates into the real world, where in the real world, if you're going to be grumpy and rude and discontent and just nasty, I'm going to call you out on it. We don't have people willing to do that anymore. We don't have people willing to step up at that anymore because we've made it very a weak society. There's a phrase that I heard, and the guy that I heard it from was Tony Robbins, but it says, strong men make easy times. Easy times make weak men. Weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men. So male or female, whatever your preference is, just plug in that. But we're in a society where it's been so easy for people that we've created weak individuals. And we're about to head into a time frame where it's going to be very hard for individuals. The individuals who don't know how to conduct themselves the way that you just described, being decent, is going to create a issue for them, because we're getting back post-COVID era to, hey, you have to know how to conduct yourself. You have to know how to act. You have to know how to walk within a place. And I know that, at least around me and the people that I'm with, that confrontation is not a altercation. That confrontation is, hey, you bumped me with your car. Do you mind saying excuse me or I'm sorry? Like, common things like that I'm going to call you out on. And people don't know how to react to that anymore because it's instant, rather than them just logging off of the app and turning the screen off and walking away thinking that they can say whatever they want to say.
Yeah. And I think we've also gotten to a place where because of the censorship and everything, we've gotten so far from actually just sitting down with whoever the opposition is and just having the conversation that needs to be had. You know, even just the mental health problems that we have, why all these school shootings happen. Instead of addressing real issues and talking about it, we just go, just let it go on. And then, something awful happens and we can't take that back. You know, instead of addressing the poverty and the gang violence that happens in urban communities, we just go, at least it's not in this community, and it's not. It's like, no, are we going to address it, or are we just going to allow it to continue to happen? Because kids are dying every day. And I don't know about you, but that's not I'm not okay with that. I don't care what they look like. They don't have to look like me for it to be okay. So it's just, yeah.
I somewhat agree with that, TJ. I'm going to say this because in the environment that I grew up with, like, if you want to play by certain rules, you have to deal with the certain outcomes, right? So if we're talking what I would call civilians, absolutely kids that are just sitting in school, 100%. But if you want to claim that you're from a specific group and then another person from another group, you guys have conflict and you two go at it, at that point, you both make choices. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, there's a limit to that. And I agree that absolutely kids who are innocent, who have not made any type of choices to get involved in that type of stuff, they need to be protected. But some of these young adults, there's a young man that I was working with at a school, and, he just didn't have role models, which is another topic, but he ended up murdering another kid, 15 years old. He took another life. And one of the biggest things that I could sense off of this young man is that he was just so scared. So he always had a pistol on him. And he always had a pistol on him because he was so scared of what would happen if he didn't have one. He didn't know how to take the ass whooping. I've had my teeth knocked out. I've had my nose busted. I've had hematomas on my head. I've been beat up pretty bad. I know what it's like to take an ass beating. Most of these kids don't know what it's like to take an ass beating when they're making those type of decisions. So it's automatically jumping to extreme forms of violence, taking lives. So I totally agree that the civilian children should be protected at all costs. But there's another segment of society that when you play by those rules, you play by those rules. So you have to live by, live by the sword, die by the sword.
Right.
Idea.
No, I completely. I just feel like, let's say someone like me were to just start talking about shit like that. Like, it's even like foreign for a white guy to even talk about it, because it's like, well, what do you know? What do you care? You're not us. And it's like, no, like, it's like I said, it's about having the conversation, like, because everyone should get involved with this, because yes, there are a lot of savages out here that are doing awful shit regardless of their age, and they're lost because their parents aren't around, or the community just accepts that, or whatnot. And it's just like, it is very unfortunate, especially when you grow up. And I mean, I lived in bad neighborhoods at times, and you see some of these kids who, I had people that gave me guidance and said, you're not going to do any of that shit. And a lot of them don't. They don't have a father, especially a father figure who can just come in and say, no, this is dumb. And everyone talks about like their OGs and all that shit. And it's like, yeah, well, the OGs have kind of given up on that, because now the OGs are like 17 and 20. They're the older ones. It's now the 13-year-olds that are getting involved, and they're already hyped on whatever they're hyped up on, and this is the only lifestyle they know. And so I'm not one of these people like, oh, let them all out and because they're young and dumb. No, it's just, we have to make a change. We have to have the conversation to make the change. And a lot of times it's like, no, we can only have the talk if it's the people who look like that. And it's like, no, man, absolutely. That's not how we do this. Like, we cannot make all the drastic change we've made in history is because it's the opposition, the two groups of people coming together, figuring out how to change, get rid of slavery, or, women to vote or whatever. We need everybody to be involved to make that change. And we by being silent and just not talking about it, it's like we rather, like I say, if as a white person, they would rather not talk about it so they don't get considered a racist or whatever. It's like, no, you cannot just not talk about it. The same thing with kids going missing like crazy. It's like, by you not talking about it, you're just saying it's okay. Like, we have to figure out how we can stop this shit. But a lot of times people are just like, look, my life is already hectic enough. I don't want anything else coming my way. And it's like, man, that's not a community. That's just selfish. Like, you don't want to make it. And I get it. I've had a very rough life and a lot going on, but I try, if there's some way I can help somebody or, learn from somebody, I will. I might not be able to divulge all my time to it, but I will definitely put a little time into it and a little effort and care.
Yeah, when the opportunity pops up, are you doing what's right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing what's right when the opportunity pops up, then you're a part of the problem.
Sure.
That's what it boils down to. And to have the opposition sitting at a table to hash out what needs to be hashed out is no longer done. I'm thinking about like the medieval times where these two like kings would go out into the middle of the valley. They'd talk first. They couldn't come to a solution, and that's when they go to war. Yeah. Right? Like, we know these things, but we don't do them anymore. That's because so many people are fearful of what you just said, having titles placed on them. And it's like, well, you're by not making a decision, you are making a decision. So by trying to avoid a title, you're getting another title, and that's the title of enablement. Yeah. So which one would you rather have? Would you rather have a small group of people misassociate the title that they put on you, or would you have a large group of people correctly associate the title that they put on you? A small group is going to call you a racist, a bigot, whatever it is. The larger group that says, oh, well, you're just part of the enablers. Well, they're going to be right because you are part of the enablers.
Yeah. And to me, I don't know about you, but I'd rather be able to live with myself and sleep with myself than worry about what other people have to say about me. Because my demons are the ones that are going to point all that shit out. Oh, you remember that time you had that envision that you were going to say this and do that. And then when that time arrives, you didn't do shit. Remember that? And that will just echo through my head for weeks. I'd rather that than somebody go, hey, man, you said this and you're that. And it's like, man, whatever. I know what I am at the end of the day.
Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree with that, TJ, because that's what people don't focus on anymore, is that inner calling, that conscious. It makes him aware.
Yeah. I do want, before we kind of get out and all that, can you at least, because I'd like to depict, because, it's great to go, oh, man, look where Nico is now. You're doing so great. Is there, like, can you, like, at least share at least a moment, whether it was your rock bottom or whatever, a moment in time where you were just at your worst and, just so people can kind of understand and grasp? Because, like I said, sometimes we kind of just brush over it and it's like, oh, okay, well, he's doing great. It must not have been that bad. And I don't want people to think that, because I can tell you've been through some shit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you decided to highlight that, because you're right. We do just kind of gloss over it. So for the audience, to describe myself, I stand at 5'11". Naturally, I weigh about 190 pounds. When I was using heroin, I weighed 120 pounds, still 5'11". And I was IV injecting heroin, sleeping in the truck that I owned in different Walmart parking lots. I was engaging with breaking and entering. I was doing robberies. I was selling fake dope sacks. And for those that don't know what that is, I would just make a look-alike bag of dope, heroin, and then I would go sell that, and then I go buy my own heroin. One of the moments that really stands out to me, TJ, when someone asks me about a rock bottom, is I kicked heroin when I was 22 years old, but I didn't deal with my root issues. And my root issues are abandonment, rejection. That's what I really struggle with. Now, there's things from my childhood that started that thought process, because that's what it is. But I would like to share that there's 4 root problems that I see most people deal with. And the first one is being taken advantage of, mainly because something happened where they were taken advantage of in their past. Second one is the one I just mentioned, rejection and abandonment. The third one is the fear of change. I mean, maybe because there was so much change or there wasn't enough change. And then the fourth one that I know that most people struggle with is the fear of being wrong. Whatever your root issue is, you gotta work through that. But because mine was being taken advantage of, as well as fear and of rejection, uh, I needed to address those. And because I didn't, when I got clean from heroin, I started drinking. And one of the rock bottom moments, I used to drink 2 bottles a day. My family had kicked me out of all the houses that they lived in. And my mom gave me an opportunity. My grandmother had just passed away, and my grandmother's house was uh, still around. Nobody lived in it. Nobody was paying for any of the utilities there, except for electricity. My mom tells me, you can go stay at that house if you want. There ain't nothing there, but you can stay there. Let's see if that helps you out. And so I was sleeping on a cot in the middle of the living room of this my grandma's house, and it was February 5th, 2017. And I'm laying there on the cot, like a old military cot, those gray ones that you can just buy from the thrift store. And it was a semi decent warm day here in New Mexico. The house, it didn't have, like, the linoleum was coming up off the ground, the paint was falling off of the walls. There was electricity, so I had a hot plate plugged in. I had a TV plugged in, and then I had my mattress. Well, if you've been in any type of environment like that, you know that just laying on your mattress all day isn't fun. So that's why I had the cot kind of just chill on. But I was still drinking, and I was in that victim mindset of just the world hates me, I hate myself, nothing's going for me, I can't do anything right. And this time I'm still working a job, so I have money. Not a lot of it, but I had money, and every extra dollar that I had went into the bottle. But that night before, I got drunk off my ass, and so the hair of the dog kicked in the next day, and I wake up and I go buy me another bottle, and I go through my repetitive thought processes, my victim thought processes, and I pace this house drinking, watching the same shows on Netflix and my phone, and just really in a horrible mindset. Now, at this point, I had weighed 260 pounds because alcohol put a lot of weight on me. So I was fat and bloated, and I stunk like alcohol all the time. And my mom said that she wanted to see me that day because it was my birthday. I don't really celebrate my birthday personally, but she said she wanted to see me, and I forgot about that. And so I got drunk by like 10 o'clock. And I was blacked out drunk. I laid on the cot. And because of the decisions that I had made previously, I was very paranoid about people coming back after me because of the robberies that I had done, because of the times that I had impacted my community in a negative way. And so I always kept a gun on me, mainly because I was scared. Uh, and the individuals that I had robbed, well, we were grown-ups at that point, so it was a heavier game that we were playing.
Right.
And I remember I passed out. I had my gun in my left hand. I had my bottle in my right hand. I'm laying on this green cot, and I passed out, shirt off, just a pair of shorts on. And when I wake up, my mom she's sitting on the side of the cot, and she has her hand on my left arm with where my gun was at. And when I felt someone grab me, like touch me, I woke up. I came out of my drunken stupor, and immediately I'm like, where am I? What's going on? And I just see my mom's face, and she's so scared about what she's looking at. And I look over at the door because it's all in just this one room that had all my stuff. My sister's standing there at the door. My sister's a couple years younger than me, so she's like 25. She peeks her head into the door, and I can see she's really scared too. And one of my rules was that we don't mess with women and children. Like that's not somebody that you go scare or you intimidate.
Right.
And just in that moment, I felt like a piece of shit. I didn't mind beating people up. I didn't mind doing robberies. I didn't mind doing any of that stuff. It was easy for me. What was hard for me was to see my mom with her eyes just full of fear, scared because she didn't know how I was going to respond. She didn't know what I was going to do. And the the bottle of alcohol is in my right hand. She just looks at me. She's like, son, we want to celebrate you. And I was like, damn, even as a piece of shit like I am right now, you still want to celebrate me? It's the day that I gave birth to you, so I want to make sure that you know I still love you. So we're going to go get some tacos like we planned. Um, so I need you to get up. I need you to put this stuff away. Meet me in the car in 10 minutes. And you talk about rock bottom. Like, I've been homeless. I've been just on my knees, just from shooting up. I've had teeth missing. I've been messed up physically. But the emotional rock bottom, that's what got me. That's what really drove home that, Nico, you need to change. And so, I mean, technically, I was in a horrible state. Like, most people don't live with food bags hanging from the roof so that the rodents don't get them, and sleeping on a mattress with a hot plate. Uh, that's not normal for most people. So some would say that's rock bottom. But that wasn't rock bottom for me. Like, that wasn't bad. What was bad was seeing fear in my family's eyes. That's what really drove me to make some different decisions. And so from those moments, that one specifically, I made a commitment to myself that, you know, if they could love me, then I could figure out a way to love myself. And so I get up and I feel each day I find a way to love myself. And I've learned to implement daily habits of loving myself. And because of those, each day of doing those daily habits, even on the days that I don't feel worthy of love, I give it to myself, because if there's people out there who can love me and I can't love myself, then what does that say about me? And so that's just a small example of one of the times that emotionally I was at rock bottom. Because physically, man, I've been beat up. That's not a problem for me. But emotionally, that was just the worst feeling I had ever felt. Seeing both my mom and my sister scared.
Sure.
Real fear in their eyes and in their demeanor. And it was because of the way that I conducted myself. And I hadn't done anything other than just wake up. And don't get me wrong, I woke up with a pistol in one hand and a bottle in the other.
Right.
But that's, you know, to me, that's not, my experiences, that wasn't the scariest thing to wake up as. And for them to see that and be so scared, that was a rock bottom for me, TJ.
No, I appreciate that very much. Yeah, man. No, I mean, like I said, it paints a picture, because, like I said, no matter how far you get from that, you'll always have that day in your head. Like, you might come down with Alzheimer's and you'll probably still remember that, because it's the day that really woke you up. You got to see yourself from people you love and who love you from their eyes and what you look like to them. And, you know, yeah, it's a scary thing when, you know, you're going down. I mean, you were going down that road for a long time, and it's like, this is just the norm. Like, bags hanging from ceilings, and that's just the normal. Being homeless and all that, that's nothing. But yeah, then sometimes it's not what you expect that'll change you, or it's not what you expect that you would consider to be the rock bottom. I mean, obviously there's a lot in there that people would be afraid of, but yeah, I mean, yeah, because I think some people go, oh, homeless, that's it. But it's like, no, man, like, this is, you know, especially because everybody has different values, and growing up, and you being, you know, Hispanic people have a lot of culture, and there's a lot of family, and you know, and if people that love you, and you know, they never foresaw this for you, and as I'm sure no one did, including yourself, but when you got to look at them and how petrified they were of what you become and how you were living and all that, like, that's just, I mean, again, I mean, there are some people that might have seen that and go, I don't give a shit, but you were still in there, because if you weren't, that would have never affected you.
Yeah. So that person that you are wanting to be is always still in there. How long are you going to try to drown them out, right? Like, how long are you going to try to mask that person because you don't get that right? That's how I kind of look at it. I don't get the right to determine what my internal self is directing me to do. I could fight it, and I fought it for years, but my internal self is to serve other people, have community, talk, help others when I can help them out. And sometimes that's by giving them some tough love. Sometimes it's by giving them a helping hand. But that's what I'm built for.
Sure.
There's a reason why I'm built the way that I'm built, and it's so that I can help and serve my community. Because I'm one example of millions of young men that look, sound, and live just like I used to live.
For sure. Yeah. Happens all the time. We go by them, I mean, we as anybody, we go by them. We see them and we go, wow,
Hmm.
that person, they're on hard times. Um, there's just, you see people. I mean, look, I saw a woman, she was out in like 90 some degree weather. It was months and months ago. It was last year sometime. And she had a sign saying that, she has to pay her rent. She has 3 kids. And, somebody in the car with me was like, oh, she's probably just doing that for, just for as a scam. And I'm like, I'm not saying that's not possible. And those people do exist, but that's a huge commitment to be in 90 to 7 degree weather, sweating and being desperate. And I felt the desperation on them. It's like I believe that they just needed to pay the rent. They just needed, and this is, I don't know these people. I don't know if this woman was on drugs or anything. I don't think she was. I just believe she was just a person on hard times and was just
Yeah.
hurting and just was doing anything to just keep her kids in a home with air conditioning. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and one of the worst things is when you get to that place, you get so desperate. Sometimes you do things that are out of character.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and that's why a lot of people end up, as they say, hurt people hurt people. So there's a lot of people out here doing some awful shit that they did not sign up for. And when they grew up as a kid, they'd be like, I would never want to do that. I would never want to hurt other people or my community. But you don't. It's different to say that when you're starving and you don't have a home to go to and you're high and you're drunk or you're sobering up and you just want to get that high again. It's a whole
Yeah.
different story when you're desperate.
Yeah. When people are desperate, they go into delusions. When they go into delusions, they believe them.
Sure. So what made you finally like turn all this shit around?
That I was still alive, TJ. I've experienced near-death experiences multiple times, and I've seen people around me die from some of the things that I've done to a less extent. And so that was one of the things that switched my brain. I'm, I'm a spiritual individual, and I believe that there is a God, and I personally believe that Jesus Christ was his son. And I started having a conversation with Jesus. And I was like, if you are real, and you saved me from all these things, and tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And by that conversation, I started to see what I was supposed to be doing, and that I was supposed to use all the pain that I had, all the trouble that I had been in, as a purpose to help other individuals get to their purpose. So for me, it was, I've done everything. Man. I've smoked crack, I've shot heroin, I've dropped acid, I've done burglaries, I've sold drugs. And if I've gone to those four, like that far of an extent on that end, and it didn't give me my solution, my theory is, how far can I go to the other side of it? And what kind of solutions will I get that way? Because I wasn't getting the things that I was looking for using all the drugs, acting out of character. So what if I head in the opposite direction? And by heading in the opposite direction, I found who I really am. That's a person who cares and who loves and who wants to be of service to my community. And by doing that, I go into what they call flow state, where I don't think about myself, I think about others. And by thinking about others, focusing on others, how to solve other people's problems when they're open to the solution, by sharing my story, that's how I got it turned around. So it was really because I'd done everything that you can do on one side of the spectrum. So I figured, why not try everything on the other side of the spectrum? When I started making that journey, my life started to actually work out. This crazy thing, when you start listening to your conscience and doing what your conscience says, the world works out better. And so from that day, I started making changes, and it didn't happen immediately, but I went back to school, got myself a degree, educational degree, as they say, bachelor's. And then I wrote a book, 5 Things to Know Before You Get Sober, so that I can help individuals who are thinking about getting sober. And then I opened up my own programs so that I can teach people the stuff that I learned on my journey so that they can avoid more help. And each time I've done that, my conscience has told me, hey, you're headed in the right direction. Keep on going. So I just keep on going because still walking a journey, right? Like there's still days where I wake up and I'm just like, man, cigarette and a shot sounds really nice. And I have to check myself, you know, I have to still check myself. Like, what are you trying to escape from this morning, Nico? What are you trying to avoid today, Nico? And by checking myself in that form or fashion, I've been able to keep what they call the straight path going.
Yeah, no, you have to have that inner monologue with yourself. Just keep, I mean, every day, no matter how far you escape from this shit, I mean, every day I have moments where I'm just like, TJ, shut up. Like, for real. All right, I get it. It's like your mind never stops. And some days it's great and some days it's not. And, you know, there's days I'll just be sitting there in my recliner, just watching a show on Netflix, chilling, and not bothering a soul in the world. My phone is just laying somewhere and I'm just relaxing, enjoying my life. And my brain will just activate out of nowhere and just bring up some random thought that'll trigger me. And it's like, oh my God, not now. Dude, shut up. Like, go away.
Yeah, man.
It's annoying,
yeah,
but
and
keeps you humble, though.
It does. It's just a notification that, hey, you need to express a little bit more gratitude. That's how I take it. That's how I interpret those ones, because I'm just like, all right, you know, I'm so grateful that I can breathe right now, because I used to wish that I didn't breathe, you know, and that's how I take it. And sometimes I think of it as, oh, my demons want to pop back up and they want to have conversation. Well, you're not allowed at the table. So why don't you go find another table to sit down at?
Yeah, for sure. What do you have to promote, buddy? I want to make sure we get it out before we get out of here.
If anybody wants to connect further, the website is nohalonm.com. I don't believe anybody's supposed to be a perfect angel. That's nohalonm.com. I am here to be of service, but I do offer what they call life coaching services. I do have sober programs. I got fitness programs. I got nutrition programs. Those are my kind of three main services that I offer: is mindset, nutrition, and fitness for individuals, because that's what saved my life. And then if you are interested, or you have somebody who wants to get sober and wants to learn, you know, maybe they're not ready to take that step, but they're thinking about it. The book is called 5 Things to Know Before You Get Sober, and that can be acquired at the website at nohalonm.com.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, I'm proud to know you. I hope we can stay friends, keep in touch.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you very much for being so honest with your journey, and happy that you're still here, you're sober and all that. It's great. And if you need a friend, someone to talk to, and you're just feeling low, just text me.
Same goes for you, TJ. It's been a pleasure chatting up with you, man.
Same here, buddy. Same here. You take care of yourself, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
All right, later.
See you, buddy. All right, guys. Just chilling here with Mr. Bullet. I'm happy we got that one done. I feel like I started to kind of stress a little bit because I hadn't done one, and again, like I said, beginning, hadn't done one in a minute, and so I was starting to be like, oh no, I haven't had a guest in a while. And so I'm happy to finally get one done. And it becomes pretty repetitious, you know. You've done them so much that it just kind of comes natural. But you know, brain fog's been slapping me around here a little bit. But I'm just happy to get one done and get the message out. Just kind of start the next group of people, because I kind of find them in waves, and I'm just so happy for all the fantastic people that have just come through my life, like Nico. So thank you to him, and thank you for y'all just supporting the show. I appreciate you very much. We're getting closer and closer to 30,000 downloads. Might not mean a lot to a lot of people because it's, you know, going on 4 years, but trust me, it is a good amount for the small podcast that we are and the small niche that we have. And I plan on going above and beyond, getting way more than that at some point. Just got to stick with the journey and just being tested. That's all. So, all right, y'all. I got to go eat and get some things done. Get ready for work tomorrow. But I appreciate you all very much. And anybody wants an update, the job's going good. And just, you know, being challenged with a bunch of different courses and things I have to take. The job in general is a huge challenge. It's so different from anything I've ever done, But I'll get through it. I promise. I know you guys got my back. So thank you, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, guys. Bye.